It began as a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind of afternoon that carries the scent of freshly cut grass and the distant hum of lawnmowers, punctuated by the soft laughter of children playing ice cream truck chimes. The sun dangled low in the sky, promising the approach of evening, but peace still reigned in the air. Without warning, peace shattered. A series of sharp cracks ripped through the comm. The sound of gunfire, rapid, unrelenting, sent hearts racing and bodies scattering. Screams tore through the neighborhood, frantic and raw, echoing off the brick facades of storefronts. People dove behind cars, toppled trash cans and littered the pavement, eyes wild with fear. From the corner gas station emerged a man clad in tactical gear, a rifle cradled in his hands. His face was a mask of determined emptiness, eyes glazed as he unleashed more volleys into the unsuspecting crowd. Then, like a figure emerging from myth, she appeared. She was tall, lean and resolute, wearing olive green cargo pants and a snug tan jacket that suggested both discipline and purpose. She didn't run. She didn't duck. Instead, she advanced straight into the maelstrom, strides confident, unhesitating. In one smooth motion, she drew a Glock from its concealed holster, her grip sure and steady. Fire answered her command. 2 shots precise, surgically each met their mark. The assailant crumpled to the ground, his rifle clattering onto the asphalt. He lay motionless yet alive, bleeding but subdued. His weapon slid from his grasp, skidding across the street toward oblivion. The crowd froze. The cacophony stilled. A stunned hush fell over the scene. 10 minutes later, 2 police cruisers rolled up with sirens wailing like wounded animals. Blue lights spun against brick walls and passing cars. Doors flung open. 2 officers emerged, weapons drawn, authoritative, unflinching. Both were white, their faces etched with adrenaline, eyes wide with the implicit assumption that danger lurked around every corner. Their attention locked onto her, a black woman, standing unmoving, the pistol now hanging casually behind her back. One officer barked, voice loud in the quiet, "Hands where I can see them. Drop it now." She remained still, spine straight, arms at her sides. Behind her, only a few feet away, lay the shooter's body and his discarded rifle. The officers did not see these details. All they saw was a black woman and a weapon. They did not ask who had fired first. They did not seek the 911 call or the eyewitness account. They reacted on instinct, an instinct tainted by prejudice and fear. The male officer took a hesitant step forward, muzzle unwavering. The female officer's hands trembled. She shouted as if her life depended on it. "I said, drop it. Now." Her voice cracked. The woman before them did not flinch. In that suspended moment, the world held its breath. She turned her head just enough to make eye contact. Her gaze was so calm it unsettled them. "I'm not the threat here," she said, voice low and controlled. The words drifted across the street, yet the officers heard none of it. Their sights remained trained on her. Tension had built like a storm cloud. The potential to explode into tragedy hovered in the air. Then, nearly imperceptible, a small object slid from her back pocket and struck the pavement. A military ID. The wind turned its pages, revealing a crisp photograph that matched her face and the bold letters below, Lieutenant Commander Ayanna Blake, U.S. Navy. Decorated 3 combat tours, intelligence officer. The female cop's jaw slackened. She took an uncertain step closer, eyes flicking between ID and woman. The male officer's hand steadied, but his weapon stayed raised. Their adrenaline could not dissipate so quickly. Ayanna lifted her hands slowly, not in surrender, but in a gesture that demanded recognition of her humanity and her service. She let her voice carry across the gap. "Would you have treated you this way?" Her calm challenge struck deeper than any bullet. At that moment, the deep rumble of diesel engines approached. 6 black SUVs barreled down the street, bearing government license plates. Armed military personnel poured out, uniforms crisp and faces stern. Leading them was a tall, dignified man in full-dress uniform, 1 star on his collar. He ran forward, assessed the scene in a heartbeat, and barked a single question: "Commander Blake, status report." Ayanna nodded crisply. "Shooter neutralized. 1 suspect in custody. No civilian casualties. Crowd is secure." The convoy officer turned to the 2 cops, voice hollow with incredulity. "What happened here?" The 2 officers stood frozen, guns still trained. The male officer's knuckles whitened around the grip. The female officer's eyes darted from ID to shooter to crowd gathering at a distance. Their bravado had evaporated, leaving shame and confusion in its place. Slowly, the female officer lowered her weapon. Then the male officer followed. They backed away, eyes downcast, the world watching. Across the street, witnesses emerged from behind cars and doorways, phones raised to record. A white woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I saw you, I was terrified." She looked at Ayanna, then at the officers. Another voice joined hers, a man clutching a young girl's hand. "You saved my daughter's life." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "You're the reason I'm still alive." Recognition dawned. Ayanna allowed herself a brief exhale. She picked up her ID and holstered her pistol with no hurry. Then she spoke, not in anger but in quiet authority. "You all saw what happened. Nobody moved to help until I did. But you pointed guns at me. Why?" The question hung in the midday air. The senior officer from the convoy stepped forward. His eyes bore into the cops. "You ever point a weapon at a US Navy lieutenant commander again without assessing the situation, you'll answer to Congress." The weight of his words crushed the feeble protests forming on their lips. Speechless, they stood as witnesses snapped photos and filmed video destined for social media. Later that day, the footage exploded across every platform. Not the shooter's rampage, it was already buried under endless headlines. Not even the act of heroism blessed with only a few terse acknowledgements. What gripped the nation was the moment officers aimed their guns at a decorated veteran, her ID displayed at her boots. Commentators railed against racial profiling. Experts debated the split-second decisions that could have spelled disaster. To Ayanna, it was just another Tuesday in America, a reminder that no matter how much she'd served her country, she was never truly safe from its ingrained biases. Flashback to 14-year-old Ayanna at her grandfather's funeral. A Vietnam vet with honors lining his chest, lying in his casket, eyes closed forever. She'd stood at attention by his side, tearful but determined, and promised she would carry the family's legacy of service. The next scene played out as Annapolis, grueling drills, sleepless nights, the weight of expectation, her name lost in a sea of cadets until her brilliance demanded attention. Then deployments to Kandahar patrols at dawn, translating intel, pulling civilians from collapsing buildings under mortar fire. Every hardship forged her. Every medal earned chipped away at her youthful illusions. Through it all, she remained focused on her vow: protect lives no matter the risks. In Greenwood, the mayor held a press conference mirrors after the incident. Media trucks lined the street in front of the gas station, satellite dishes raised like antennae to the heavens. The mayor cleared his throat. "We are grateful for Lieutenant Commander Blake's bravery," he mumbled, eyes flicking to the cameras. A full review of the officer's actions is underway. But words rang hollow. The mayor himself had never taken cover, never faced a firefight. His apology was rehearsed, his gratitude tepid. Ayanna chose not to attend. Instead, she spent the afternoon across town at the community center, folding chairs alongside a teenage boy who had witnessed the shooter's fall. He was shaking, eyes haunted. He asked, "Weren't you scared?" She paused, meeting his gaze. "Fear isn't the enemy," she told him. It's the refusal to act because of fear that kills.